Hey everyone, Superman here, coming to you with another DCUO video. I am not at my usual Superman statue today because I did want to make this video pretty quickly because as you can tell by the title, or not even just the title, but the announcement that the devs recently have just put out on all platforms, at least of social media from what they have. We do have a new DLC coming labeled Children of Krypton, and it is going to be a Supergirl based DLC, and I'm very excited for it. I'm very happy to be able to get into it and find out about it and everything like that. And I know almost all the Supergirls in the game currently are very hyped to get into the DLC, but to kind of go over the DLC and try to sum it up a little bit because there is a lot that we have to go over. So I will be going over it briefly. Um, but yeah, just to kind of get into it, we have the summary is DC Universe Online's upcoming story arc, Children of Krypton Shadows over Argo, centers on Supergirl's pursuit of the villain Kryb. Argo City's location is at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and that means, Aquaman being Atlantic. So, Children of Krypton Shadows over Argo launches for DC Universe Online in June of 2026 on Xbox One and Xbox Series XS, including PlayStation, PC, Switch, and everything like that. It will be getting released on all platforms. Um, and there's just going to be a quick little rundown of everything again, kind of going through everything and explaining a little bit of it. But to kind of give you a little bit of a rundown, if you haven't read the article, that's basically what I'm reading off of. So this is going to kind of just briefly sum up the article a little bit. I'm going to kind of just go over or through the article if you haven't seen it already, and kind of just talk about a few things like the Supergirl remodel that they have, Argo City and what it looks like, stuff like that. But to kind of get into it, we have hello. Today, I'm excited to share some exclusive details about our next story arc, Children of Krypton. The teams at Dimensional Inc. and Daybreak Games have been hard at work on this new adventure, with which centers on a fan favorite DC character who's been gaining some serious momentum in pop culture, Kara Zor-El, better known as Supergirl. We recently wrapped up our first story arc, Light and Rain, and four-chapter narrative released over the course of a year. That story explored themes of loss, regret, and redemption, and this new multi-chapter approach has given us the opportunity to tell more nuanced stories with higher emotional stakes and deeper character development. Children of Krypton builds on that foundation, beginning with its first chapter, Shadows of Argo, and at the end of the Light and Rain, players discovered a newfound evil Kryb, a monstrous figure from the Lantern storyline and a long-standing enemy of Guy Gardner. In this new arc, Supergirl is going to be the star of the show and pick up where Guy left off. The two share a history through the Lantern Corps, particularly during Supergirl's time as a Red Lantern, and that connection drives her pursuit to Kryb back to Earth. Her search ultimately leads her to Argo, now resting at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. So that's kind of just basically a summary or rundown of the things that is going to come. And to kind of get into the pictures, because I see there's a picture of the Supergirl model, which is beautiful. I'm sure everybody's already seen it. Um, and then there is a model of Kryb, so we already see that as well. Um, and it's just insane. It's very nice seeing the new Supergirl model and being able to have her get her own um, story arc at, like for these next few parts. So it's pretty awesome being able to get into that. And not only that, but going to Argo City, you know, that's another huge thing that's gonna play a part. That I'm very excited about going to a Kryptonian city from Krypton. That's gonna be pretty dope. So I can't wait to see how they do that and how they played it out. And I bet all the Supergirl characters and the Iconics are also just as happy to do so. But this is kind of just getting into a little bit more of the article. Supergirl has always been one of my favorite characters. When I met my wife, she was also a huge fan and had a collection signed Supergirl comics, which I felt was chemist. I've wanted to tell a Supergirl story for a long time, especially one involving one of her classic uh, adversaries. As we began exploring the idea, DC let us know a Supergirl film was on the horizon, aka the Supergirl movie, coming out during the same time in June, and the timing couldn't have been better. What draws me to Supergirl is her death. She's been portrayed in many different ways over the years, but I've always been most interested in versions of the character that explored her grief, anger, and not fitting in. That interpretation felt grounded and relatable in contrast to some of the more lighthearted Supergirls we've seen. I was really excited to see that the new Supergirl film draws inspiration of Women of Tomorrow. If you know, you know, which um, which captures that complexity beautifully. We wanted to lean into that, so players are going to encounter plenty of Kryptonian lore and characters. This is at its core a Supergirl story. So kind of getting into that, it's going to be just Supergirl, which I'm very hyped about. That's awesome on how Supergirl's actually getting her own thing, and it's literally going to be just her. Like that's amazing. Um, so I can't wait to really see what they do and what they came up with, especially if they're going based off of Woman of Tomorrow for inspiration. But kind of continuing into the article to not fall off track, as we began shaping this storyline, one of our key priorities was being thoughtful about representation, particularly within the history of the comics. If you look at the Golden Age, female characters were often regulated to supporting roles as love interest or sidekicks. Over time, we've seen a steady shift toward more prominent and fully realized female leads across comics, television, and film. That progress matters, and we wanted to be intentional about continuing it with Supergirl, especially as she returns to the spotlight in border media. It was important to us to do justice to her character or to the character and present her as a strong central figure in her own story. Of course, in DCUO, the U stands for universe. While Supergirl leads the narrative, she won't be alone. Guy Gardner has been called off on official Green Lantern business, so unfortunately, the best haircut in the universe will not be appearing this time. However, Argo City's location is at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and Atlantic means Aquaman. Naturally, this brings Atlantis into play, and so players can expect to encounter several prominent Atlantean heroes, along with a few additional surprises we're keeping under wraps for right now. So that also sounds great, and having Atlantis be a part of it is going to be an interesting twist, in my opinion. Like, I genuinely don't know how I'm gonna feel about that having its own Atlantean twist to it. But I feel like it might end up coming into the comics and tying into her comics some way, shape, or form, or it just ties into whatever they're doing or what they have planned because she's not going to be or Atlanteans aren't going to be the only one. So it seems like there's going to be way more to it than that. But then again, I can't wait to see it. And then the pictures of Argo City are amazing. Um, we have one picture that caught my eye the most. It's the center playing field. It kind of looks like 31st century's Validus's area where there's just one big thing in the center and then just a huge center circle. That looks like a Christopher Reeve ship, and I'm honestly hoping that's a base item because I would love that as a base item. Obviously, base size for bases and league calls and everything like that. Um, but that looks amazing. I can't wait to see that. Argo City looks insane. I see it has a few 31st century a little bit in it with the lamps and one of the other pictures that it has, but other than that, it's a beautiful place. So I can't wait to be there, and I can't wait to see it. And I hope you all are ready to get into some Kryptonian based content just as much as I am, because it was fun. It's gonna be fun. I know a lot of people in the community right now at this moment are tired of lanterns. Um, and it's been a while since we really had Kryptonian based content, so I know a lot of people are very excited for some Kryptonian based content, aka even Supergirl based content. So I can't wait to get into all of that, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. And have a nice one, everyone. Much love. See you in the next one. Bye.